Good morning, Monday. At the time of this recording, too, it's also July 4th. And I was going right up until I almost got out of the car. I was going to title this Discernment. But I thought, I think some freedoms in discernment. And here in America, we celebrate July 4th, and we celebrate our freedom, our independence. And when we talk about psychological freedom and independence, and there's a lot of people that have written about it throughout time, and of course it's all over the Bible, it comes from within. And what's from within, when it's connected to God and submitted to God, that's where real, true freedom lies for the individual. And yet, we struggle with this. And I read the book of Micah this morning. And again, we're getting the same message, but just in different ways. Oh, by the way, sun is back there. I'm going to walk against it because it's so bright this morning, and I don't want to put my sunglasses on for you guys. So anyway, so there are a few verses that stood out to me in Micah where he's talking about one day you will have your own grapevines and your own, harvest. There was something else in there, I'm paraphrasing. But and I took that to mean within, like you are going to have what you need to sustain you from within. When you get things in the right order, when you discern. The second chapter, he's talking about all the other false prophets that are out in the world, and like all of the people are having to discern on their own from all the voices who's telling the right thing. Because a lot of these prophets are saying a lot of the right things. They sound true. But how do you know? Well, you have to be plugged into the one, the creator, the source, to know and have discernment. And when you have discernment, like godly discernment, and when you are connected to God on your own, you're submitting to that process, but that actually gives you freedom as a human. It's a paradox, I know. And most of God's ways are paradoxical. I'm actually reading a book right now called The 8 Leadership Paradoxes. And it's a study of even all the great, so many great leaders out there that have been able to embody paradoxes. They are visible and they're there when their employees need them, but yet they are invisible. They let their employees shine and have some autonomy and leadership of their own. And so there's a leadership. And Jesus, of course, we know, it was a great leader. And we're about to get to the New Testament. But Jesus is, God embodied. So God, the greatest leader of all, and he's like begging us throughout history, please just get to know me, spend a little time with me, and then you'll submit to my authority, my leadership, because I am part of you. Like you are trying to run around and do things on your own strength when you could get some Miracle Grow and amplify whatever you think, whatever strength you think you have. Let's amplify that by submitting to the one who makes your blood circulate throughout your body, that gave you life, and that you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to sit there and go, okay, blood, are you circulating? Okay, breath, are you breathing? Heart, are you beating? Lungs, are you working? No, it's all done for us. And yet we walk around because we have skin on us and we see ourselves as separate, that we do all this stuff on our own. It's my mind. I'm so smart. It's my body. I'm so strong. Look at what I do. And also in Micah, at one point, he is saying, you people, here, my brain is, hey, I'm having a moment. Where oh yes, you're out there worshiping and making idols of things that you make with your own hands. Knock it off. Knock it off. And we don't need to do that. That's like, gosh, the Old Testament. One of the main themes in the Old Testament in a nutshell. Like, nothing that you can make with your hands is going to satisfy. It doesn't work. I am in you. You are in me. We are connected. We are a vine. When you are connected, you've got all you need. And when you're connecting on a regular basis, like the sheep know the shepherd's voice, you're able to discern when your own survival brain wants to freak out, wants to scurry around and do all of these things that are dependent on other people, dependent on your humanness. If you're only living in the human earthly realm and you're not seeing the other dimensions and things that are happening in the unseen realms, and part of it is God. Like, that's faith. You've got to know and then live from that place of knowing. Live, act, do. Not just think and say you believe, but do, which sometimes makes you look and feel like a crazy person when you compare yourself to the other humans. And that's what all of these prophets were willing to look a little crazy, a little foolish. We talked about that yesterday with Jonah. He literally was like, I don't want to be your fool, but I will. I do. At the end of even all his anger and his outbursts and refusing, trying to go his own way, he ultimately did submit to God's sovereignty and said, okay, all right, fine. And therefore, we have a book about him in the Bible. All of these prophets, I'm sure, were thought of in their day as nuts. The lone voice. Like, they're the ones, there were probably a lot of people, I would imagine, that got these messages. This is a theory I've heard before, and I thought, oh, this might be kind of true. This could be true. That there's probably been a lot of people that have gotten messages over the years, because we wonder, like, why does God's story take so long? Like, what are we waiting for? It's probably for some crazies, some people that are just willing to go, yep, I know that's you, God, talking. And even though I'm going to look like a crazy person, I'm going to go do what you tell me to do. Noah and the ark, Jonah eventually jumping into the sea in a storm and still getting rescued. We don't know that, like, he gets eaten. It doesn't look like it's going to be a rescue, but ultimately it is. Like, God's ways are not our ways. And that's a hard one. Again, I'm a itty bitty newbie baby to this and a rookie, but I am telling you that as I'm spending this kind of time every day doing this and seeing the ugliness of some of my ways, my very human, I walked into a spider web, sorry. Hopefully no spiders got on me. Anyway. Okay, back to the story. And starting to let go of some of my impulses, first of all, you have to see them before you can let go of them. You have to see what you're holding, and you have to be willing to see yourself, all of the good, the bad, the ugly, and there's a lot of ugly in there, and be willing to submit and let go. Sometimes that means letting other people be right, even when I don't think they are, or being nice when I don't want to be nice. Because I see God in them too, and God has us all here for a different purpose, and to not all believe and walk and act and do the same thing. He created us uniquely and for different purposes, and we get caught up in our own way of thinking, just like Jonah did, and seeing the world the way we see it, and what's right and wrong, and those people deserve to be smited. And God says, who are you? Just like he always does through this. Who do you think you are? Like, you're here because I gave you life. Like, you got to remember your place, dude. But the struggle that we all struggle with, is looking outside for what's inside, and then what's connected with him, and not just inside on our own, because there are a lot of spiritual gurus out there that will tell you it's all within, and you don't need to look anywhere else. It's all within. But I believe, and with God and with the Bible, that there is a creator. Does he look exactly like us? He says we're created in his image. But the image, when you think other dimensionally, could be just characteristics. Doesn't mean he's like some superhuman out there. He's more than human. But because he gave us a higher mind and consciousness and the ability to think about thinking, that if we spend enough time with him and in gratitude and in submission, a peace that surpasses all understanding starts to just happen. And it's nothing you're doing on your own. You're submitting. And then all of the things, not all of the things, well, I think eventually all of the things, I'm just speaking personally, but some of the things now that I was just looking so hard for out there, I learned that that's not what I'm really looking for. It was something missing inside. And that my spirit and my nervous system, my mind is settling down. And that settling down of me, that discernment, is giving me freedom. Let's bring it back to the point here. Freedom. And it's even freeing other people from having to relate to me in a certain way. Have you created an environment or contributed to the creation of an environment where people are walking on eggshells? Anyone? If you've got that going on in your life, I certainly did. Of course, at the time, I didn't see myself as being part of the problem. But it takes two to create a situation, or more. And once you get in that situation, then you're both doing things to create. Nobody's innocent in this. And but the only person you can do anything about is you. And even if the other people that are in this eggshell walking situation do no work at all, do no inner work, do no praying, do no submitting, you will still contribute not only to your freedom, but even to theirs. They're going to know something's different. The relationship changes even when one person takes ownership. And with ownership, we think, oh, it's all me and my strength. No, again, submission, paradox. So on this 4th of July, declare some freedom for yourself by submitting, and then doing, acting, spending time with your Creator. Get to know Him so that you can discern truth and hear and discern truth from all the voices and all the noise that we hear, and even within for yourself. And slowly, day by day of just doing this, you will be climbing out of that pit of, or even in the worldly, just looking out there for solutions. That will start to settle down in you. I really do think so. That is what has been my experience. All right. I could go on and on, but I know you need to get on with your day, and I need to get on with mine. So go have a wonderful day, and leave some comments if you want. Share. Anyway. All right. Have a great day. Rise and shine.